Hello and welcome to this Qatium community webinar, Getting Started with a Digital Twin, What You Need to Know. My name is Alasdair, Marketing Director at Qatium. As I mentioned, this is a Qatium community event. We try to host these events on a monthly basis, speaking to experts from the water industry on different topical topics. So yeah, that's everything from a housekeeping perspective. Just one thing, this is a new series that we're kicking off around digital twins. This is the first of a quarterly session. So we'll also be running one in Q2 in the next quarter in about 3 months. So look out for that as well. Thanks very much. So over to you, Paul.
Great. Thank you for that, Alistair. And thank you, Qatium, for hosting this session. I'll add, I'm joining from Seattle, and please do, if you feel like it, note where you're joining this webinar from. Really excited to have this conversation, and I expect I'll learn a lot, and I assume the rest of you as well. We have 3 great panelists who are going to walk us through, how to get started using digital twins for water utility systems. We'll do a little bit of scene setting and establishing some context for what are digital twins, what are potential use cases, and talk about how to get started. So in terms of getting started, I wanted to welcome our 3 guest panelists, each of whom will have I think, complementary perspective to share that should really cover the ground in terms of where to get started and what really constitutes a digital twin. We have Satish from the city of Houston, and each of them will do a quick intro about themselves. Golnaz, who's part of the Qatium team, and Saša, who's with Burns & McDonnell and is also, as am I, an advisor to Qatium. So if each of you could do a quick introduction, and then we'll get into the meat of the presentation. Satish, can you go first, please?
Sure, I love to go first. Thanks, Paul. And thank you, KTM, for this start. And I really like this arrangement that we have utility plus vendor plus consultant, everyone. So my introduction here is I'm Satish Tripathi, managing engineer, currently leading water infrastructure planning team in Houston Water. I have my bachelor and master's degree in civil engineering and water resource. Currently doing my PhD in water and AI. That is my main background, and I have been working in this hydraulic modeling, this digital transformation, efficiency kind of thing since last 18, 19 years. That's me. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Golnaz?
Hi, everyone. Well, I'm joining from Edinburgh, but I'm originally from Iran. I studied civil engineering back in Iran and got a master's in town planning in Manchester. I've got my main career experiences in consulting in the water industry, both waste and clean water industry, and I've been working as a hydraulic modeler, and I'm a senior hydraulic modeler in Qatium at the moment as well.
Terrific. Thank you. Saša?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We see people from all over the world. My name is Saša Tomic. I'm a Burns & McDonnell Digital Water Lead. This year, we are celebrating 40th anniversary of graduating from civil engineering high school. So I've been doing this for a very long time. And I feel like my whole career has been leading to this point because I was always in parallel looking to computers and civil engineering, modeling and decision-making. And that's what digital twins are, the integration of decision-making with data and models. So I'm very excited to be part of this panel and help utilities get more value of data they have, models they built through digital twins.
Great. I'll just add, Paul Fleming, I have my own firm that advises startups and scale-ups in the water and climate tech space, and also consult on corporate water strategy and climate resilience for companies, NGOs, and utilities. Previously established and led the global water program at Microsoft, and have spent the bulk of my career working in the utility space at the intersection of climate change, water, and strategy. So yeah, this is great. Again, as Alistair said, please feel free to drop some questions into the question module here on this platform. We'll do our best to weave them in as appropriate into the discussion. And let's get going. So first of all, we're going to start off by a good place to start is, what is a digital twin? And you see here a definition from the American Waterworks Association, AWWA. And thankfully, we have one of the people who helped write this definition. So please do read it. But Saša, can you take a crack at maybe unpacking this a little bit and see if there's anything you would want to elaborate on with respect to how AWWA defines digital twin?
Certainly. So I was a part of a committee that developed this definition, and the committee did the great work to very precisely define what digital twin is. At the same time, I'll take the full blame. That's not the most simple written statement, so I'll try to unpack it. Most importantly, a digital twin is a part of a decision-making platform. It could be a whole decision-making platform. It could be a part. But if you are not using it to support your decision-making, AWWA does not consider a digital twin. So your GIS in itself, it's not digital twin. Your hydraulic model by itself, it's not a digital twin. But if you are accessing hydraulic model results to make decisions, then you can call that something digital twin. The other definition we included in digital twin, that's typically not just one source of information. So if you use GIS to figure out how much pipeline you have in a system, you wouldn't call that digital twin. It's integration of multiple sources of information, and this information could be from predictive models, which could be a hydraulic model, AI system, but it could be some simple extrapolation like linear regression, and some of the data you have. And this data could be static data like GIS or dynamic data like SCADA. Digital twin is supposed to integrate multiple sources of information and then present them to the right people at the right time to support the decision making. So simply said, digital twin as integration of different sources of data to support decision making.
Given that definition, Saša, would you say that do you have sort of a timeline when you would say this is when digital twins actually emerged as a factor or a component of utility decision making? I mean, I think it's not necessarily a new thing, right?
So we are actually writing an article to show that decision making in water resources industry transition from inside of our brains to the computer, that this transition started the first of band of hunter-gatherers came to a river and used the stick to measure can they walk. Actually, gorillas do this. So you could say, in a way, gorillas are using the decision twins because they're using some mental models of the reality, some observed data to make a decision. At the same time, we can also say that this transition of decision-making has not moved completely, where there is no digital twin in the world that will assess the state of the system and then change how the system is operated. That's the ultimate goal. So this is a digital transformation. It's a process. Digital twin as a term started in 50s. It generally referred for design digital twins, where we would try to design something in a computer. In water industry, it started being popular in the last 5, maybe 10 years. But it's just a part of a long-standing process. And if we want to look at into details, we started doing measurements. This is something Satish brought up to me, that Nile meters in a Nile were used to decide when to plant 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Dr. John Snow made a map of the cholera cases in London to find the source. And so basically, again, use the model to make a decision. And this is a example of water resource management, because what Dr. Jon Snow did, he closed a water fountain.
Right.
So it's water resource management. So there are examples of kind of digital twins, but with the computers, we have true digital twins where we have abstraction in the computer. The first one I worked on was for city of Bethlehem in 2000, when we built a real-time model that they used to operate the system, and it was integrated with SCADA. So it had two pieces of information: computer model and decision making.
Great, thank you. So wanted just to see if Satish or Golnaz, if there's anything you want to add to this definition from the perspective of a frontline person who is helping to manage a real-time system that provides essential services, the city of Houston's water system, and Golnaz as someone who is trying to build out applications to help folks deploy digital twins. Is there anything that you want to add to this definition, or bring some perspectives to the table? Satish?
Sure. Yeah, a lot to add here, but this definition itself is very concise and it represents everything. But just want to elaborate some of these aspects. Like one is, yeah, like Sasha said, it actually integrates physical model and then statistical model. Plus, what we need to understand is knowledge-based model, which we have not talked much. This is the right platform where you can bring knowledge in terms of ET data. Every decision which you make through your hydraulic modeling or any kind of decision you make, you can actually convert it into the data and integrate into the digital twin, so that you can learn from your previous decisions and make the wiser and better decision in the future. That is one of the thing I want to add here. A lot to add, but I will keep myself here. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Golnaz, anything you would like to add?
As Satish mentioned, it's very comprehensive definition and covers everything. But yeah, I wanted to say this is the digital twin in the sense of computerized, that we see these days, is now kind of an open door of more opportunities. It's just making it open to have different kind of ability joined together, as Satish mentioned as well, like historical knowledge of the area can be integrated in the model. But I want to say that the future is started with this digital twin, and we can have generative AI added to this, and have extra level of decision making and recommendations and so on, can be all see in this feature for this digital twin.
That's great. Let's move on to a quote from a partner of Qatium's, and explore how he frames the sort of the opportunity space here with respect to digital twins. And I think, Golnaz, it would be good to come back to this decision-making issue and the role of AI digital twins vis-a-vis people, right, and humans.
Yeah.
I think that's a weighty topic. So I'm not going to read the quote, but I hope you do. But I think there's some sort of key, really phrases in here, visualizing and democratizing data, and sort of putting information into the hands of frontline teams. So, here we're talking about, I think implicit there is empowerment and of people to make better, more informed decisions they're already making, right? So this is maybe helping to augment and improve that decision making, and putting digital twins in the context of a wider transformational journey for utilities. And I will note that term transformation personally appeals much more to me than disruption. So, which is a common term used in technology. I think here, personally, I think we need less disruption and need more transformation. So given that, and Golnaz, given that Anglian has been a collaborator and a partner of Qatium. Can you talk a little bit about, what motivates you to develop and build out new sort of services from Qatium as and do you see that as a tool to drive transformation for water management, which clearly is something that is needed given the multiple challenges that we face around water management? Can you talk a little bit about um, how you approach engaging with partners and customers?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, Anglian Water has been involved with us for years now, and they started very small to test it, and then accept it. But what I want to say, I've seen a lot as first and as a hydraulic modeler, that we've worked on networks and make them ready, but no operators were very interested to actually work on it. Nowadays, seen that because I think they felt it's a bit daunting as well. For every kind of decision, they had to come to us for a different software. Not talking about Qatium, but the platform like Qatium make it easier for operators with less hydraulic background to be able to access this platform and overview their network better without the need of expertise or feeling that this quiet, advanced technology that they can't access to it. Okay, we can always help. I'm as a hydraulic modeler always in the background. If there is anything happen, we can help them out. But they can do the scenario. They can make any future or real time kind of planning on their network and understand their network better with the visualization and the real time control that they have on their network. So that makes them easier. This democratization is actually a very powerful here, because the thing that was not accessible to these people, they can actually get access to this information without a layer, going through different kind of section of company or talk to others. They can firsthand access that, and makes it a lot easier for everyone to work smoothly together on this. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Yeah, and even more. So thank you for that. Satish, as again, someone who has to help ensure that you're delivering this essential service, I'm curious how you view this notion of information augmentation. And I think it's easy to think of potentially AI, digital twins, as being a threat to replace um, decision making by people. But I was recently in Aquatech, and I heard someone describe digital twins AI sort of writ large as another voice at the table, right? Not the voice. How do you uh, view this as a means to democratize and enhance decision making, right? Like, what's been your experience with this?
I think you already mentioned it. How we are. First thing is what digital twin, why we went for the digital twin, why we choose digital twin as our uh, technology partner or the platform to go for is we wanted to make the decision, democratic decision, or we want to involve more people in the decision. But how? We have a limited time. You have to make a decision on time, and you have to make a consistent decision. So all these things you can have through the digital twin platform. This provides you not just the decision making efficient process, but also the consistent that it. I already mentioned about it that once you make the decision, you will know that uh, know the impact of your decision, because the way you have set up your information in the digital twin, that like for example, if I decide to downsize a pipe because of the water quality or the water quality issue, then how it will impact the future development of that area. Is that area seeing has are we projecting some significant redevelopment or development in that area or not. You can drag and drop both information at the same time and make the decisions, which used to be a weeks or months of task, but now you can do the drag and drop. So that is one. Another thing is this. I think this is where I want to talk more, that digital twin prepares us for the next generation, like alpha and beta generation. We are not talking about millennials or other generation, because Gen Z is not even a topic for us right now, because we have one third of the people experience knowledge models, means people who are eligible to retire. Think about that. How can we compete with Tesla? How can we compete with the outside market if we cannot attract them, and we cannot develop an environment that is tech agnostic, which is tech based? My son generation, they are Hey Siri generation. They don't know how to write. Even they will even forget to type. Then that time, how would they be compatible, and they want to work with us? That is where this digital twin provides the huge opportunity for us to prepare. But on top of that, all these are, I think you all are aware about the Houston, but if not, then in last 10 to 12 years, we have gone through almost 15 500 plus return year events, weather events. Like we started in 2011 with a historic drought, then 15, 16 historic flood, and then 17, you might have heard about the Hurricane Harvey, then again flood, windstorm, and then freeze event in the 2021. We had a 22 and 23 drought. This 24, we already had a windstorm and another event, two major events. Means you can, when you have these many events, weather events or emergency situations, then how would you be able to think about future? Because your now need is much important than the future need. So that is where you have to make the decision. And when you make the decision on rush, you might have a high chance to make the wrong decision for the future. It might be right for now, but for the future. So how can make decision on time to meet the golden time target, plus at the same time we meet the sustainable goals, we meet the future, we make the future right decisions. So that is where digital twin is providing us that opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And so I wanted to pull in a question from the audience, and just note this notion of the tyranny of now is a really a challenging issue for decision making, right? Like, it's the now is always imperative, and it's always going to drive. And so how do you retain that capacity to think further out? So decision making. Sasha, we have a question from the audience, which is, I'd say, maybe a general pushback, but we can make decisions from 2D drawings and blueprints. What makes digital twin different from decision making point of view from this conventional way of representing water infrastructure? And I think that's a, a good softball for you to take a swing at.
Excellent question, and it was important to define what digital twin is not, or when you maybe don't need a digital twin.
Right.
So if you can make all the decisions with the data you have, you do not need decision support platform. I said digital twin is decision support platform. It's not supporting your decision, then it's not a digital twin, even if you build one. But what digital twin can do, given this example, maybe Ahmad knows where 2D drawings are and which blueprint to correspond to. So in the case of emergency, he can quickly pull them and provide the answer. But what happens when he retires? So digital twin maybe can capture the knowledge that Ahmad already has and then easily transfer that knowledge to the next generation. Another example, in what is if an emergency and you're in the field and you don't have 2D drawings and blueprints and a pipe breaks and you need them. So it might provide the access to that data when you are not in the office, again, supporting the decision making. So in a simple way, it democratizes and simplifies the access to information to support decision making. But I would definitely not recommend building a digital twin if you don't feel the need for it.
Yeah.
I can provide
You
an
know, that
example,
answers the
Paul.
question. Mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I-
Satish.
Yeah, I can add an example. Like we are working on right now dynamic, uh, we call it smart CIP programming, means capital improvement programming. Historically, how this whole industry is developing CIP projects is you prioritize, you identify need, and then you develop a set of need, and then go for and construct it, or develop the project, or complete implement the project. But what we are doing right now is data is an ever changing world, right? Your That means your condition might go as per your plan, or it might not go as per plan. That means when you have a changed data set, you don't need to sit on one plan, master plan, or the CIP plan for 15 years and implement. You can have every year changed capital improvement plan. You can still have the same list, but that your project in 20 rank 20 can go up to second in next 6 months or 7 months based on the new data. And that means we used to bring consultant, they used to do master planning and find the need and propose the CIP projects in the past. But now with the data and the way we have integrated data in a digital twin, you can actually do that assessment every day, and you can see how your ranking change. So this is one of the example that you can make. We have been making a decision. This industry have been making a decision. That's why we are here. But this is much better and much confident decision which we are making now.
Yeah, what as you were talking, I think of the word dynamic, right? Um, helps kind of puts you in enables you to perhaps adapt and respond to events in a dynamic way, but also more proactively, you could also run scenarios of your system and explore how your system could react to, as you said, for instance, maybe extreme events. So not to discount the 2D drawings; those are essential, of course. But I think you've done a nice job of elaborating on the value added here. Let's let's move into and start to get continue to get more specific, and move on to some of the use cases and how to get started. So again, I won't belabor or read through this per se, but as I look to the panelists, and Sasha, I'll start with you, given the role that you play as helping to advise your clients on how to get started. Perhaps you can talk a bit about how to get started, and if there's maybe a particularly compelling use case that you think provides a good example of a gateway into the digital twin world, that would be terrific.
There are, simply put, two ways to go to digital twin, and I'd really like one over the other, but I'll give you two. You can start with data and move towards solution, or you can start with a solution slash problem and move towards data. The first one is what Xylem or Palantir offers. They will come to you, they'll integrate all your data in one big data lake, and then all this data will be accessible for any kind of application on top of it to say solve any type of a problem. The other one is you start with the question, what keeps me up at night? What's my biggest problem? And what data could I have to better address this problem? And then you look at what data I need to integrate and build something. But as you do this, you're not trying to build one simple dashboard to answer this one question at this time. You try to build it in a way that where it can expand. So I would say the best way to build your digital twin is start with the problem you have, look at the data you have, provide some value to the utility, either in solving the problems better or solving problems at a low cost, and then use this justification, this saving, to go back and say like, oh, if we had more data, if we had better model, if we had a bigger digital twin, we can do more. If you can afford this other way, it's a good way to, where you start with the data.
I'll come back to you about like what are the necessary foundational components that are needed here, because I think there's maybe a perception that there's a big barrier to entry, and I think you're already shaking your head no. So I think we'll let's make sure we come back and talk a little bit about that
Sure.
later on.
The, oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. But just sort of let's put a pin in that. So Golnaz, can you talk about some examples here of these use cases and where you're seeing deployment of digital twins, and perhaps you can bring in some specific examples from KTM if you like. But can you walk through some of these use cases, and then Satish, as an end user, I'm hoping you can do the same.
Sure.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, in terms of use cases, what we see in Qatium is some clients are really more keen in some aspect of the, management. For example, in US and some of these clients, they are really keen for the flushing sequences, and some other I've seen that they really want to do water main shutdowns, and it's very key point for them that in Qatium they can just design the water shutdown on there and see what is actually needed, which customers are out of water, etc., and plan it ahead and implement it. But overall, I've seen that some really liked the idea of overlooking on the network as well, have a sense of, controlling the system at the time. Like they can actually see with our plugin of tank autonomy how much storage they have currently in their tank, so that make them kind of more assured of, what is going on at the moment on their network, so they have a better overview of that as well. But if you wanted to, you asked me about the starting point as well, right? Or should I say that later on? But
We'll come back to that. Yeah, we'll
Oh,
come back to that.
no worries.
Satish, is there one of these use cases that you all have looking to deploy or have deployed in the city of Houston?
Yes, I would say most of them, like monitoring our system, how we are performing, where is our pressure low area, and how our water quality is changing over the like throughout the month, the seasons, throughout the year, and which area are our pain points, and how do we um, plan for that? How do we come up with the solution? That is one of the thing. And like we have continuous. I think it's all a utilities problem that we have. We have to go through the main breaks. We have leaks. We have to identify, respond to that. When you respond to leak, you have to identify how many customers are going to be impacted because of your pipe isolation, that valve isolation, and then who are those? Do we have a critical customer there? How to reach out to them? What support they need in the meantime? All these decision, you just have 15 minutes, half an hour to make a decision. You have to communicate it to the constituents that you will be out of water. So for that, we need to have the better data on hand. So that is one of the purpose. And once we recognize that there is a problem, low pressure or some of the water quality issue, then how are we flushing? What is the flushing plan on the live? You have modeling on the hand, but is your model updated? You can actually validate your model. Is model representative? That is where I think, Golnaz, you might have faced the similar situation that no model is right model. I am a modeler since like 18, 19 years, and it has. That's why right now this advancement of technology has actually given us the opportunity to make better decision out of the not complete model. So that is one of the thing which we are doing. But I want to add one more thing here, which I think that is from my perspective, that is the best gift for me so far from the digital twin. That is, you can actually look at not just the system, look at your data. We have a huge data. We have a massive data since long time. But do we have a time to look at all our data? Do we know the completeness of the data? Do we know the data gap or data, how good that data is? digital twin has actually provided that kind of visualization, that kind of visibility to our data while we are using for our use case. We have been using this data since long time, but we have never integrated and we have never seen data in terms of each other relationship. And there should be some physical or in our term hydraulic correlationship, which we think from the hydraulic engineer perspective that this does not make sense, but data says that that is there. Whether data needs to be wrong or our perception, our equation, whatever we have studied, that needs to be wrong. So how do you validate? That is the opportunity I have seen here, and we have been using that for our data cataloging and data making data better. Where are the gap in the data? Can we improve it during the data collection process or data wrangling process? And is it ready to go for the predictive and prescriptive analysis? That is where we are more focused on this.
That's great. And as I look at this slide, which is really framed around distribution systems, it's really interesting. I mean, that's obviously just one part of a utility system. So we could talk all day about the other segments, but even this focus on distribution systems inherently highlights the touch points with other parts, right? So collaborate with stakeholders.
Yes.
That's a really important component of utility management. The impact of water main shutdowns, you can imagine that feeding into how you communicate with your customers, right? You just started to allude to how this can inform overall enterprise data management. Clearly, there's some asset management implications here. It's interesting to think about how digital twins can help to begin and reinforce and maybe break out of the segmentation of utility systems that we sometimes find ourselves in, given how utilities are organized. So, we in some ways we set this up to hopefully make the case for what are digital twins, what are some of um, the values of it at a high level, and the opportunities, which I think you all have done a nice job. And now we're going to talk about how to get started, right? And hopefully the setup helped to provide some fuel to the fire, right? Like here's why you should be exploring how to get started. And again, Sasha, I said I wanted to put a pin in that, so I'll come back to you, given the role that you play. And in particular, can you talk about the what's really needed to get started? And it may not be as much as people think, right? So can you talk about how you're and Golnaz, perhaps you can do this as well, helping to lower the barrier to entry to utilizing digital twins?
Sure. So I'll start with the example of hydraulic models because that's what Qatium does in these exams we are showing, even though digital twins could be a digital twin of screw on a pump all the way to digital twin of water resource supply system that spans states. But if we look at the water distribution system and hydraulic model as its predictive model, most utilities will have a hydraulic model. Qatium even can help build hydraulic model from GIS that will be very approximate, uh, inaccurate, uncalibrated, imperfect. And Ahmad, in the discussion over his question, was pointing out the core of all decision making is data. So digital twin cannot bypass data. You need to have a data. What digital twin can do, and Satish was already alluding to this, is give you the access to data, show you how uncertain your data is, and then support the decision to collect more data. For example, if you have an uncalibrated model and you link it to SCADA, it will be very obvious, does the model track the SCADA? You can look at the hindcast, you can look at observed values and what model was predicting, and then the model can provide forecasts, tell you what will happen if I turn off the pump. So if this hindcast matches reasonably well, and it's up to you to decide reasonable one, is it plus minus a foot of AGL or tank level or half meter, good enough or you need better. And then based at looking at this time cost, you decide, will you trust the forecast? We can't do that in a hydraulic model on the fly. So when somebody gives you a model, and Dr. Box taught us that all models are wrong, but some are useful, digital twin can take this data and tell you how useful it is. So to answer your question, you need to start with data. You cannot do it without the data, but digital twin can help you validate your data and justify the expense of collecting more or better data. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. So Golnaz, as you sort of onboard some of your customers and begin to work with them, do you have a point of view in terms of what's kind of essential to get started? What are the type of things that are almost must-to-haves or nice-to-haves from a utility perspective in order to be able to develop and deploy and utilize a digital twin?
Yes, as Sasha mentioned, yeah, the data is the main kind of runner in the background of the digital twin. Without the data, digital twin cannot exist. But yeah, we usually try to let them know that any utilities and customers that they need to have some sort of data for their networks. First they need to know what they are going to use the digital twin for. What are the key points and KPI for it, and then we can help them as well for increasing the data where extra kind of missing sensor can be deployed and etc. But that's a different topic. But they can have as simple as drawings, as 2D drawings that they have. We can help them as well to bring it in life and make it build a digital twin based on that. But that's a bit hard kind of route to go. But ideally, GIS data would be enough for building a model and some asset informations. You need to know where your important assets are, tanks, pumps, So in the other way, you need to have some knowledge of your area as well. I can build a model, but then at the end, I can't calibrate it properly. If I don't have a live data, that's fine. But if I don't know the connections properly, the operator or utility, they need to give me that information to understand if the connection of somewhere is incorrect, etc. We can, help together and work together and make it work. But yeah, drawings is a data as well. So that would be a base and some asset informations. And then if there is a historic data, would be great as well. A vehicle data, I'm not too demanding, So yeah, that could make a start of making the model.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned you alluded to this more of a dialogue, right? Between you and the customer, and that process of laddering up, like what data is available, how do you fill those gaps, it's very much a two-way street. It sounds like, in terms of that engagement to get started.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Satish, you're in Houston, and Houston is known as the Space City here in the U.S. And implicit in that is being on the frontier, right, of exploration, the outer bounds of the universe. And of course, you have a terrific engineering school in Rice, and also a lot of innovation around medicine as well. I'm curious how that sort of culture, if and how it has helped to drive Houston's embrace and utilization of digital twins. Can you both talk, and if maybe it's not germane for you, but I'm curious if it is, and where did you all start on your journey, and uh, what barriers did you have to overcome in order to get started, and what maybe cultural aspects of Houston help provide some motivation and incentive and tailwinds to get started?
Of course, thanks, Paul. This being a space city, plus we have a lot of resources like academic resources, consulting resources. We are hub of medical center, like one of the largest medical center in Houston, and oil and gas city. So with all these things, we have yeah, this has actually created the environment that a lot of technology, if not in the utility but outside, you have a lot of resources, and then a lot of things going on in the technology plus other engineering activities. At the same time, I already mentioned about our weather events. We went through a lot of those challenges, now needs challenges, and that has actually forced us to come up with the better way to deal with this. When you are in an emergency situation, and if you are looking at the which data would be helpful, and okay, I need how much gallon of the water people are using and how much we are losing. If you have to do that calculation under the emergency situation, you have to bring all those data together. It takes a lot of time. How do you make decision on time? How you can come up with the solution on the fly? So for that, we have started from that point, that this is not going to work. We are not responding quickly. We have to respond quick. We have to control more water. We should not be losing more water just to make just to take a time to make a decision on which valves to isolate or how to solve that pipe break problems. That we need, that was the one of the driver. But how we started is we looked at some of these use cases that need, and then we went back, just like Sasa mentioned, that which data set we need, we frequently use. We identified data, we developed data catalog, and we identified 70 plus data set, which which can be used for our decision making. And then we grouped it in terms of which decision making or which scope of the work needs how many data, which data, and that both way correlation on the data we have established. And then and we need a semantic correlation among the data. It's not just identifying the data and how frequently it gets updated, what process it goes through. So we established that data model, um, and then came up with the solution that okay, for the smart CIP planning, we need this set of data, and this is how we are going to use. That's how we started, and now we are continuously improving that system. Plus, we are utilizing that database for the AI and uh, large language model use cases. So we are building at the same time using for the use case as well.
It was a quick follow-up question. Was the motivation to get started in this space, was it a top-down or bottom-up, or was it kind of like a middle management? That
It's a middle management. We can say top down as well, but not the very top. But we had it's a service line management kind of level. That is because those are the people who needs to make the quick decision on those critical times, and that is the need we identified and we started.
Great, thank you. Um, Sasha, can you talk about maybe the other end of the spectrum where there isn't, if you're not residing in a space city, there aren't many of those, and you don't have these leading oil and gas or medical systems, where the technology adoption is sort of in the water. Um, how do you work with clients who don't necessarily have those kind of tailwinds, and where do you start with them?
It's very important to point out that it will be the smaller or very small communities that will benefit the most from digital twins. Not that saying that Houston or Anglian Water won't benefit greatly, but they already have resources to address problem. If you are a utility that has one or two employees, you probably don't have enough resources, particularly time, to solve all your problems. So what we focus with utilities is what is the key problem, what data is needed to address to make a decision, and then try to get them to the point where whatever tool that we are building, and that might be a simple dashboard or real-time model, whatever it is, that brings the value to the utility, and then use this example of added value as a justification to expand on it. But what you should focus in a digital twin is how merging different sources of information provides more than a sum of the two. And roughly, there are three types of information. There's asset information, maps, GIS, as-built 2D drawings. There's temporal information, SCADA, flow meters, something that tells you, the first one tells you about what's your system. The other one tells you about how your system currently behaves. And then there are predictive models as like what your system should do in the future. If I bring model to SCADA, we already discussed that I can have forecasts and I'll make better decisions. If I bring GIS to model, instead of reporting number of nodes that will be out of water when the pipe is closed, now I can say number of customers that would be about water and how many of them might have dialysis machine.
Right.
The value of information goes up. If I bring SCADA to model, I can validate and calibrate the model. If I bring model to GIS, I can say like, well, this pipe needs to be repaired. Does it have redundancy? Can I close this pipe? That's not very easily answered in GIS. What's the flow through this pipe? So by getting different pieces of information together, we end up in a situation when 1 + 1 = 3 or 53. But we need to take that difference between 1 + 1 = 2 and 1 + 3, that one that's a difference, and reinvest it into expanding the digital twin.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And more so, I mean, that sort of amplifying effect of bringing these disparate data sets and platforms together. And, I really think of helping to view data as an asset and putting that asset to work, to derive value is you've captured that really nicely. We're almost at time, pretty much close here. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So if anyone has anything, please populate the chat now. But I wanted to turn to the panelists for a closing remark, and here it's like a 30 seconds. And it's really kind of a final thought, and you can take it any direction you want. Just focus on trying to do it in 30 seconds. So Golnaz, I'll start with you. Is there anything that you want to top of mind that you want to share as we look towards wrapping up?
Yes, just wanted to say, for my point of view on Qatium, is kind of joining digital twin is easier than people think. You know, usually platforms like us, you can easily use your email address. Nowadays, everybody has email address or create one, and you can join it and get the benefit out of it. So I would say don't hesitate if you want to manage the network, and get a better understanding, especially for small utilities, is a great opportunity these days to use that. And I think, as I said before, this is a start for, a bigger kind of improvement, a start of, these opportunities here are limitless. When we have this digital twin enabled and combined with generative AI, then we can have better forecast and projections, and decision making gets more accurate as well. So I leave it there.
Great. Thank you. Satish, quick observations?
Yes, I think from my side, what I would close with is this makes our life easier and now and prepares for the better future, and it makes us to go for the technology, to use technology. It will not replace the people. Any AI or whatever comes, that this platform actually makes you ready for the future to use those kind of technology. On top of that, I just want to add, I am part of SWAN Digital Twin Architecture Committee. We have just released digital twin maturity assessment tool. You can look for that in a web SWAN website, and it allows you to see that what are the steps, and you can, while you answer those questions in the survey, you can actually feel like what might be my next step. If you are already there, what is the next step? Where you are, it gives you that perspective. So if you need to join that committee, digital twin committee, please contact me or the SWAN people. um, yeah, that is my
Great. Thank you.
closing statement.
Saša, 30 seconds.
Sure. So you need two things for a digital twin: problem and data. If you're a utility that doesn't have any problems, please let me know. I never met one. What's important to know, you do have a data. Might be circular charts on your tank. It might be a model that was built 10 years ago and not used. But getting the data that you have and using it will tell you how good it is, how much needs to improve, and you will provide some value to justify improving that data. There is a question from Sridhar, sorry for mispronouncing it, Jamia, saying, can Qatium help with non-revenue water? I don't know how good your data is, but you should try, and at minimum, you'll understand how good your data is, how good your model is, because it will predict pressures.
Yeah.
And without trying it, linking it to your SCADA data, linking it to your meters, you don't know how good or bad it is. So,
Great.
35%.
Good catch there. So people often say that attention is the most precious commodity. So given that, thank you all for your attention today. Really appreciate you taking the time to join this session. And thank you to our panelists, Golnaz, Satish, and Saša, and also to Qatium for hosting this event. I hope it was of great use to all of you, and have a terrific day or evening wherever you may be. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. And maybe just a few points just to close, if I may. Hopefully you can hear me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Thanks so much to our panelists. So yeah, just I know we're at the hour, but just a few points. This is a Qatium community event. So if you are interested in other sessions, we'll be running a series on this topic every 3 months. But we also run webinars every month. So do join the community. The link was in the chat, but you can also find it quite easily on our website as well. The only other thing I would leave you with is that we do provide digital twin solutions, and with that, it's meant that we have developed a pretty decent knowledge working with utilities large and small about how to best get started with their digital twin journey. So if you are interested in learning more, please check out our website and get in touch, and we'd be happy to offer some advice at the very least to help you get started with your digital twin journey. If you want to save it for later, click that tab or button at the bottom, and that will open a new tab for you to take a look at later. And yeah, just to say, this session will be available on demand afterwards, so you can come back, revisit different parts, etc. So feel free to do so and digest the content again at a later date. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day.